Hello there and welcome back. Today we do something different. I've been asked countless of times what are my secrets about my pleasing looking video that I publish on Instagram and on YouTube. And I decided to do a series in which I take care of all the phases of content production. Now there's a lot of stuff we have to talk about. Today we're going to talk about color grading, which was the thing initially that I was most interested in. I will show you my workflow. I will tell you how I started, because back in 2020 when I decided to get into video production, I had no clue what I was doing. But I have to be honest, through Instagram and through publishing every single day, I became what I am today. So I get some momentum. I could become a musician thanks to learning all of these production techniques. My goal here is not to make you a professional color grader, a professional editor, but give you the basics, what helped me. So it's simpler than you think. The key is just get the stuff and try and do and you know, practice like everything. So I have the feeling that if you learn how to showcase your work, whatever it is, in my case was music, with a good package, which in this case is a good video or content, you will have an easier life. Now there's this big debate about content making is art, is not art. Honestly, I don't care. As long as I do what I want, as long as you like what even I have to like it, but if you like it too, then it's a win-win situation. So do what makes you happy and don't listen to the buzz. All right, how we gonna start? We're gonna use DaVinci, which is my editing software of choice. And it's great because there's also a free version, completely free. It has some limitation, but to practice, you don't have to spend anything. And to me, it's the best editing software. I love it. Then we will use Dehancer Pro. Dehancer Pro is a plugin that works for many different software. In this case, I have the one for DaVinci, of course, which gives you the film look. Instead of enhancing the picture, the footage you have, it dehances to make it the analog look, which is a great part of what I want to do. I start a collaboration with them, so I understand it can be a pretty expensive software, but it's a great investment that I decided to do. If you're serious, you should consider too. If you want, you can use the code that I put down below. You will have a discount on buying it. You will help me with a little percentage out of that. And yeah, it's something that a lot of professional people use. A lot of friends pointed me out to that. But we can also do similar things without using Dehancer. So I show you also that. So we go the complete free way. I mean, you need a camera. I decided to work both with footage coming from my Sony Pro camera, some footage coming from the iPhone, and then we will also use at the end the new Dehancer app that will allow you to get similar results on your phone directly. It's cheaper and it works pretty well. Okay, before going on, I already mentioned you can buy the software helping me a little, but you can also subscribe to this page, hit the like button, become a Patreon where I reply to all of your questions. There's tons of exclusive content, and buy from the affiliate link down below. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Few tips first. I'm using a DSLR, actually it's a mirrorless camera right now. Before I was using a 10 years old Canon. When you do video that you want them to look like a movie, doesn't really matter if you have a super high-end camera, because with my Canon, actually, it had a baked-in film look because it didn't have enough resolution. Now movies when it's shooting film, doesn't have that crisp resolution that modern camera has. So something to take in consideration. You don't really need to spend tons on your camera. But I realized that having the right lens is what game change everything. So for example, let's take a look of this video that I imported. So this software is DaVinci. Again, can be free. I have the pro version because it can export in 4K, otherwise you are limited in 1080. So you import the things, there's plenty of video to see that, but you just drag into your timeline, and now I have few footage here. So for example, let's go to this one. I have the same footage shot with a 35mm Canon lens, which is a modern lens, and as you can see, it's pretty crisp, pretty nice. And this other footage is made instead with a 50mm Leica from the 70s, which has less crispness, but it looks way more cinematic. Even this one, for example. If we keep going, you can see this is the footage that I did with the iPhone, using just the iPhone camera, no other app. There's Filmic Pro you can buy, but I just use the basic one. And I try to do the same kind of vibe. Doesn't look bad, but you might notice right away something. The image coming from the iPhone are like crispy in the sense there's a lot of contrast. The black are black, the white are white. While the footage coming from the Sony are this kind of flat looking. Why is that? That is called the log view. I'm shooting with this function, let's call it, called log. Log is basically a sort of a raw format of video. I don't want to be that much technical because I know just what I need. What does it mean though is that shooting with this format, you will have a lot of detail both in the shadow, as you can see, and in the highlight. Here I have a lot of chances later on in grading to make things look good. Instead, using the iPhone, as you can see, the dark part are completely black and the highlight are completely white. This is a problem with using the iPhone. The new one, the 15, has a log possibility too. So things are getting better. But of course, if you use cameras like Sony, like the Blackmagic, which I hope to own sooner or later because I love that one, you will have more chance to grade better. So again, that won't prevent you anyway to get nice footage. For example, this footage from the iPhone is pretty nice. I like it. I used the cinematic tool, so it creates some out of focus here, which is fake because sadly everything is on focus. Before going on, last thing, lenses are really important because if you use a long lens like a 50mm, 100mm, you will have this beautiful out of focus, which I really like. See how I like to put side things that will frame my videos. So if you check my Instagram, you will see that a lot. And if you have something that is out of focus and something that is in focus, you will convey attention to something, which is really important. Done. This was the pre-discussion. Now, let's just pick our footage, and I would say let's start with this one, which I really like. So, there's many ways you can work in DaVinci. I'll show you few of my way. First, this is the editing page, which you do like cutting, and let's go in the color grading page. Now, on this part here, you have your nodes, which are all the the modules that will create your color correction. With Option S, you create one. Now, all of these nodes can be many things. You can create as many nodes as you want. and when you create, they're empty. So there's few ways you can work. With Dehancer, you can just place one node, place Dehancer on it, and start working from here. This is the fastest way if you own Dehancer, and it's what I do now because it saved me a lot of time and the results are great. So let's do this first test using just Dehancer. Then I'll show you another very pro approach. Okay, again, let's start from scratch. You have your clean node, you have your very flat image shot in log in this case, and you go here in Inspector, Effects, and at the end I have Film Emulation Dehancer Pro 7. I'll place it here. Now, as you can see, the image just got this weird tone. That's because automatically Dehancer load some film profile. I like to go down here, disable all tools, and now we go back to what it was. So now we start from scratch. Dehancer is made by different modules, different part of it. So let's go through it. First is the input part. The input part basically take care of what is your footage. You have to tell it what the footage comes from. In this case, there's many ways you can work. If it comes, for example, from your iPhone or something that doesn't shot in a log, usually we start with Rec 709, which is the standard color profile. But since I'm using my camera, I can go here, choose camera, vendor. I know that this is a Sony. I will pick the camera. Here it is. And now I will choose the different format. I shot in S-Log3 and Gamut 3 Cine. Here it is. Now already, with just this setting, the image look more like it was. As you can see, there's different color happening here. There's the outside, and then there's this that has more of a warm tone because it's a tungsten. So there's something I will have to deal with. But already it looks pretty nice. So the first things you can do here is add some modification to what you the basic shot. So there's exposure compensation. As you can see, I have detail both in the lower hand and in the higher hand, so that's great. So here I can maybe tune a little down or leave as is, whatever. Temperature compensation, if I can maybe tune a little down, something like this. Tint compensation. These are basically all the tools that you have in any kind of photo editing, video editing. And then the fringe, you can leave it as is. Then you have the film developer tool. Now, there's different way you can use Dehancer. Maybe you like to do one by one, but sometimes I like to start enabling the film stock you are using. There's many. Now you can go through them. It's impossible for me to show them all, but there's some are the classic that are used in movie. For example, Kodak Vision 3500T. Let's use that one. Once you enable that, you already have this sort of toning that happens. And also you can do push and pull. Push and pull in film world is when you develop or underdevelop the film to get some different result. So for example, if you you get more of a blue tone on the dark, which I like. So I would go a little in the push direction. I like to activate film right away because it gives me already a tune, and then with film developer I can modify a little. Things you can keep doing with the other module after. So film developer, again, it's like the chemical you would use and the process you would use. It's fun, like it's all how you would do back in the day. And here you, for example, have contrast boost, which you might like or not. I like to keep my shadow a little open. Gamma correction, which works more on, again, the contrast of the image. Color separation, color boost. Color boost in the movie, usually it's like the density of the color, so it's nice to have a little more. So we already have something nice. You can always press Command D to deactivate all the nodes. So you can see this was the start, and we are already here. Already has a nice vibe. Let's keep going. You have film compression. Film compression, again, had some interesting part. So let's enable it. Impact usually means the percentage of the modules on the visual, so it could be 100% or less. White point, decide where your white gonna be full blown. Of course, take a look always at your parade inspector here, so you see here is the light, here is the low end. Usually movie don't ever go film too high or too low, but there's a nice roll off, so keep it softer. That's at least how I like. So let's decide, see outside the window, I don't want too much burn, but I can go something like this. Then you can still push again a little more the color density, but I would keep it like that. Now, here you have expand, which is similar. You can see the parade. I can push the dark and make it more contrasty, but I kind of don't want to use it this one. I want to keep it something very soft in this way. Now we go to the print zone. Print zone is where actually you would print the negative to make it a positive. Means that then it can be actually projected. Otherwise you wouldn't, you would see just the negative image, which is the opposite, right? Color. So there's few stock here. The classic is the Kodak 2383. So let's tune that in and enable. And here it is now again. As you can see, every step had a different tone to the thing. So everything is interlaced and you have to modify. Of course, it's not a plug and play thing that you just have a look. That works better on the iPhone app. They have preset, you go with that, and it's super easy. But I love, honestly, to spend time and make my footage look unique. So once you enable that, there's first the analog range limiter, which, as you can see, it compresses a little the contrast, make it a little more open. And then you can decide the target white color. Maybe here it's a little too warm. Let's go back a little on a cold. You can modify the exposure if you want. And then you have tonal contrast again and color density again. So you can decide where to go. I think I like it as is. Then you move to color head. Color head basically is like your color wheels in DaVinci or any other color grading software. You can basically decide to give tone to the white balance in the different area. So for example, let's set this to 0. And let's use in the shadow, let's add some blue tint to the shadow and some warm to the high end. Something like that. Very subtle. My advice, always go very subtle. You don't have to do crazy stuff to make it look good. And here we are in another of the cool part of Dehancer. So Dehancer has a film emulation, which right now you don't see too much. Let me see, actually, yep, because it's not enabled. But let's see, this is the clean image. Let's add grain. So as you can see now, you can actually perceive the grain. Now, grain, of course, is an important part of the film look. So For example, this is the start, flat image, very digital, and this is where we are now. You can already see that it has a very analog feel. But how much film grain do you want? You can have preset of various stock, or you can do custom. In custom, you can basically decide the amount, the film resolution, the size of it. I like to go with the smaller size, lower the resolution of the film. What does it mean? What we were discussing before, the lower the resolution, the more truth actually it is to the film medium. So if you start with a very high-end technological camera, maybe you want to lower this down a little if the film look is what you want. And then you can decide if they happen more in the shadow, in the highlight. That's it. I won't move more than that. So let's see where we are. Looks nice. Maybe it's even too much for my taste. So I would lessen the amount. Something like that. Perfect. The next step is halation. Halation is this effect that movie has in which the red channel bleed on the other channel. So it created this sort of halo around the highlight. Let's enable and see what does it mean. So, for example, take this line here on the screen. So this is without, so the black line is just black. If I enable it, look now, there's this red halo happening. So this is something that you see happening in all the movies. See also here on the knobs of my synthesizer, because I'm a synth addict, so we have synth too, not just cameras today. Again, there's different possibility. You can use custom. I like to lower the impact and leave as is. So you perceive it a little, but you don't have to have it massively. Then we have other stuff that honestly I don't use too much. Bloom is kinda create, as you can see on the outline here, see my shoulder, with bloom enabled, you have this sort of glow. It's not something I enjoy too much, so I usually never use it. But it can be good for the movie look, so you can actually impact and add just a tiny bit, 10%. Film damage is another thing that I don't use too much. Film breath is when there's the actually film, when it's projected, move, and that is something that can be cool. Film breath and gate weave, same. These are still things that can be a little too much sometimes, as you can see, but it will give you the film look. Then you have a vignette, which you can, of course, vignette your image. We don't need it now. Monitor give you if there's any false color, and clipping indication, which, for example, in this image right now, there's no clipping in happening, which is great. You have all the details. The output tells you how much of the image you want. So like this is 0%, this is 100%, keep it as is. And then LUT generation. LUT generator could be useful because the only big problem with Dehancer is that you use a lot of power, CPU power. So for example, if I play, as you can see, it's not very fluid because there's a lot of things happening. So what you do, you can export a LUT and apply the LUT to the other footage, and you will save a lot of computing power for other stuff. So it's a cool thing. And then that's it. You did your color. Now, this is like a very classic warm tone. I like it. But you can go further and color your shadow. You can go back and change your, for example, your film stock and see what happened with other. And each one has its different vibe. But say I want to keep it as is, what I would do now, I would copy with Command C and paste on my other things. So, for example, I already see that it might look different on other of my footage because here I had a backlit situation, which of course create a different vibe and open up my shadow, because when you have a backlight in your lens, especially if it's a vintage lens, it will impact on our contrast. So, for example, on this footage, I know I will have to work a little more, but still, I love the look of this. It comes from this, very flat, to this, very moody, very analog. Love it. So, this is one way you can use it, but let's now go to the pro way that sometime when I do complex project with many footage. I use this way when I just have one shot. So for example, I do my vertical thing. This is what I would use for Instagram. And here it is. This looks very interesting. It's very analog to me. And so I would export. I would go here in the export page. I would usually, I can use the YouTube. It's the fastest. When it's horizontal, I use this 2160 when it's in 4K. But usually when it's for Instagram, I just set here the project, exchange this. So I would do vertical, and then I would export here, changing in 1080. So it's better for Instagram. But say I have many footage to put together and color. So what would I do there? Let's start again. So let's remove all what we did. I would create several nodes, and I have a preset for that. So I imported that because it's gonna be easier. In gallery, I right click, I have import. Here I have all of my preset, and one is called Dehancer base. What do I have here? It's a simple node structure, and it will make things easier once you save it. So I have a contrast node, a color balance node, a grade node, then a color transform node, and a dehancer. So, as you can see, I have already my image getting a nice tone. Let's actually use this other one. This one I like. Let's bring it. So color transform is what before was working in Dehancer, changing, telling the camera, the software, I use this camera and this format. So basically, the first step, you put color transform, which is in your effects node, effects tab. And what does it do? Say, you say your input color space, in this case is my Sony S Gamma 3 Cine, the input gamma, which is Sony S Log, and then you said output everything in Rec 709 and Gamma 24, which is the standard. So basically, like this, I would have the correct interpretation of my color profile. But I put this 3 node here because I can now do a basic color grading and then use the Dehancer at the end just to create a look. So I usually go in here and reset the view, so I'm sure to see the correct. I see that I have not a lot cranked in the low end or the high end, which I like, but I can first make this look crispy as needed. So I can move here the low end and the high end. So gain usually work for the high end, lift is your low end, and gamma is your mid-tone. I don't want to go too much, so I would keep it like this, something like that. The second tab, I would do my basic color balance. So right now I see it's a little mixture of it, so I would usually use offset, which is get the entire spectrum of the color and make it pleasing, that looks correct. So I kind of like that. Nothing scientific. You can use like the color tool, those square, but I like to do like this. And then I have the grade node. The grade node is usually what I use to create my look. And I usually like to work with curves. I usually ungang it, open up the low end, something like that, then go in the blue and push some blue in the low end and some warmth in the high end, something like this. So from here to here, pretty nice already. Here, basic, where we are now, nice. What we do now, I go to the Dehancer tab. So I load Dehancer. I have all of the stuff, I disable everything. And now I will add just the few tools that I need. In this case, the input has to be Rec 709 because we use color transform. So I wouldn't use any of these, but I would choose a film. Let's go again to the Kodak. We can decide to push and pull if we want. We can decide to use the film developer, but I wouldn't. I would go in film compression, enable it, push a little that, decide where the white point is, maybe open up a little so it's a little more contrasty. Nice. We can enable the expand. If you want, I like milky shadow, so I would open a little and maybe push this a little. Nice. And then print on Kodak. Let's tune it in. Nice. You can tune down the exposure a little. Finally, the grain. Again, I do a custom one. I would lower the resolution. I would lower the amount and the size. Looks very nice. Add some halation and get custom again and less impact. And there it is. Let's now deactivate everything. So this I'm deactivating just the Dehancer part. So this would be my basic color grading, and this would be with Dehancer. Massive, massive difference. Like these look very digital. It looks not that, it's nice, of course, but look at this. It's great. And done. It literally takes me very little. What I can do now I can copy these three nodes and paste it on the other footage. The cool part here is that it's easier for me, in this case, to balance them out because I can move towards them, and I know if like this is a little more, I would go in the contrast and maybe work just in the contrast before hitting the Dehancer. So maybe balance it out because this was warmer, and so go a little more like that until it look definitely doesn't look. It takes time, of course, but I can balance them out using the different part of the tree node. Once everything is ready, again, I would go in the export my job, and that's it. That would be super easy. Now, what are the pros and cons of using the Dehancer in your Node tree? First, it's very demanding as CPU. So I love it for my kind of job because I do just very short video and it works flawlessly and it's perfect. If you do full movie, maybe that will take time. So I'd recommend use the LUT and then at the end just add the answer. But of course, if you do movie, you want to listen to me because this is aimed to people like me that need the things get done fast and in a beautiful way. I love the concept that it works as film because I grew up with film camera, so it's, you know, it's something that really relates to my world. And guys, from here to here, I really love it. It's just so beautiful, so warm, so cool. Now, this is done for the computer part. Let's try to check what happened with the iPhone version. So I'm gonna open it in my iPhone. Here it is. I am gonna, I forgot something. What happened if you shot with your iPhone? Let's go through that because we will use the same footage in DaVinci and in the phone. So let's say you have this footage here, which is completely fine. What I would do here, usually back in the day, the most simple of it all, I would keep as is. I would use just one node. At the beginning, I was just using one node and that's it. I would go here again. I would open the shadow. Look at the change when you just open the shadow. Pull the highlight a little and then go in the blue and do the same things I did before. Look at that. From here to here, already nice. Of course, it's not as nice as this, but still, it can work. You can use noise. I don't know grain. There is grain. I don't know if it's in the free version. I don't think so. And so now you can add the grain size to it. And now you have something that it's in the same level as it was before. So let's go now on the iPhone version. So I load it up. I'm gonna broadcast it. Where is it? Here. It's gonna be in vertical, of course. And here it is. So when you load the app, you import your stuff, and then you have different presets with the last edit, the original look, which is not bad. Last edit I did, which is pretty great, but you have a lot of presets that has been made by Dehancer people. So you can move through that. They look pretty cool. Or if you want to experiment, let's see if there was Kodak Vision. Here it is. This is similar. I like to go to the Edit tab. And in the Edit tab, you will have, let's actually start from Original, Edit. And now you have all of the previous possibility in your phone, which is great. So you can start from the source and you can decide, I want a little more of that, change the temperature. Then I would move to films and pick whatever film I think it looks good. Let's try this. Fuji Natura, this looks nice. Then you can develop and move, like let's lower the contrast. Let's actually move to here. Color boost. And on and on. I am just going with the flow and see what I like. Print, let's decide to print in the paper we liked before. Exposure, tonal contrast. Now I target white, let's see, something like that. And then color head, I can do my final touches. I'm going very fast because I don't want to go through that again. Film again, film, it's basically you have the same tools as before. Once you're ready, you can check it. Press play. And then, at the end, you press the export in video quality, 1080, 720, and that's it. So, this is another opportunity that you can have if you don't want to invest on cameras, lens, and you just want to use your phone and have an all-in-one color grading solution that is pretty easy to use once you get the hold of it. And you know, small investment, but great return. All right. I think I cover everything. This has been a long video, and I hope this was interesting. If you're interested in this topic, let me know, because I can go on and talk about cameras, lenses, blah, 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 a lot of stuff. So, I'll see you next week. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.